When you really think about it, every era in history is defined by just a handful of powerful personalities. These are the leaders who can completely reshape alliances, define what a nation stands for, and sometimes, well, they can change the entire fate of the world. So, for the last 10 years or so, global politics has been totally dominated by a small group of very strong, very influential figures. But this brings up a huge question, one that has consequences for every single one of us. What happens when they're not in charge anymore? Does the world get more stable or does it become way, way more chaotic? And yeah, this is the cast of characters we're talking about. You know the names. Figures like Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, Donald Trump, and Narendra Modi have pretty much driven the entire global conversation. Each one has a totally unique and powerful brand of leadership, and their decisions have had a massive impact on the world we're living in right now. This gets us to a really crucial idea for understanding our current moment. We're living in what you could call an age of personalized power. See, history often moves in cycles, right? Sometimes it's the big institutions that matter most. But right now, oh, it's all about the personalities who are running the show. So, what do we actually mean by that? Well, personalized leadership is basically when the authority of one single person, their charisma, their willpower, their story, becomes more powerful than the political parties or the government or even the established rules that they're supposed to operate within. The system ends up bending to the person, not the other way around. Now, this focus on individuals over institutions has for sure created a new kind of geopolitical order. It's dynamic, it's unpredictable for sure, but baked right into this system is a hidden and very serious risk. It's a kind of thing most people don't even think about until it's way too late. And that risk, it's what we can call the succession dilemma. When you concentrate so much power in one person, the question of who or even what comes next becomes one of the most important geopolitical questions on the entire planet. It all really boils down to the number one, just one person. When leadership gets this personal, the stability, the foreign policy, and the economic future of an entire nation can literally hang on the fate of a single individual. And that is an incredibly vulnerable place to be. And listen, this isn't just some theory we're floating, it's a clear pattern throughout history. Geopolitical analysts will tell you that long, dominant leadership eras are almost always followed by these periods of intense uncertainty and instability. The transfer of power is one of the most delicate and dangerous moments for any political system. Okay, so what could these transitions actually look like? Well, if we look at historical patterns, we can basically map out three potential paths for what happens when a dominant leader finally exits the stage. Let's break it down. The three main scenarios are pretty clear. First, you've got an elite power struggle, where different factions inside the government fight each other for control, and that often leads to a ton of instability. Second, there's controlled continuity, which is when a handpicked successor tries to keep everything the same. And third, this is the most dramatic one, is systemic reform, where a totally new leader comes in and fundamentally changes the country's direction. All right, so let's dig into that first path. An elite power struggle is usually the most volatile outcome. Think about it. After a leader who's been in charge forever leaves, all the people who were kept in check are suddenly unleashed. In a country like Russia, for instance, you could see different political and security groups competing fiercely for the top spot, which would create massive uncertainty for everyone. Now, path two, controlled continuity, is what a lot of these systems are actually aiming for. A country like China, for example, has a structure that's really designed to make sure that strong, centralized leadership continues no matter what. The goal here is stability above all else, with the successor basically carrying on the exact same policies as the person before them. And then we get to path three, systemic reform. This one is the real wild card. A new leader could pop up who decides to open up the political system, maybe pivot towards totally new international alliances, or even dramatically reform the economy. This path has the most potential for positive change, but it also, of course, carries its own huge risks of destabilization. So here's the crucial point. These transitions don't just happen in a bubble. A change in leadership in one major country sends these massive ripple effects across the entire globe, and it could potentially create a completely new global order. And this is exactly why this stuff matters so much. The outcomes of these succession stories are going to directly impact huge global issues: the future of security in Europe, the stability of the world's energy markets, and the economic balance of power between the East and the West. You could see brand new alliances form, and old conflicts could either flare up or maybe, just maybe, finally get resolved. When you zoom all the way out, it really comes down to this simple but incredibly powerful idea. Nothing in geopolitics stays the same forever. Leaders will change, new powers are going to rise, and the balance will, inevitably, shift all over again. The only thing you can ever really count on is change itself. So as we watch these powerful leaders today, it's pretty clear that the world that comes after them might look completely different. The next chapter of global history isn't something far off in the distance. It's already started. And the critical question we're all left with is, who is going to write it?